Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Let's talk a little Arkansas football, okay? And it's a topic, you know, I don't even know if Arkansas fans want to talk about, but it's crazy because I was thinking about this time of year, you know, historically, as somebody who's covered college football, I used to write for foxsports.com back in the day, talk about it on this show, Fox Sports Radio, etc. This time of year, there's always those hot seat lists, right? And I think some of it is nonsense. We just talked about Billy Napier, what he has to do, DJ Lagway, you know, Venables, Brent Venables, Hugh Freeze. These are guys that obviously need big seasons. The one that just feels like it's kind of run its course, and I know Cletus disagrees with me, it does kind of feel like Sam Pittman's run his course, and I'm not rooting against him. And I don't think we should underappreciate what Sam Pittman did, taking over a disastrous regime from Chad Morris. 3 wins in that first year, which was an SEC-only schedule in 2020. That incredible 9-win season. I don't want to dismiss what he did because it was very important what he did and when he took over, okay? But we're now 4 years removed from that 9-win season in 2021, and it just kind of feels like it's run its course. You know, I cover this stuff for a living. I would argue it feels like there's as little juice around Arkansas as anybody. I mean, even like Kentucky, like I think Mark Stoops has convinced Kentucky fans that he's motivated, and I think Hugh Freeze still has some believers. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, Arkansas fans. You can get in the chat. Tell me if I'm wrong. Kind of feels like it's run its course, and it kind of feels like we could be coming to an end with the Sam Pittman era. And I think some would even argue maybe we should have last offseason when you're coming off a 6-6 regular season. And, of course, Sam Pittman had offseason surgery that kept him sidelined for a minute. Well, I bring it up because obviously we're not rooting against Sam Pittman, but obviously the conversation will then become who would potentially replace him. By the way, quick side note, Torres on the Hogs on Twitter. Torres on the Hogs, all your late-breaking Arkansas football and basketball news. By the way, if there is an Arkansas student watching this, we need an intern to run this account for the fall of 2025. Help me out. Work with me. Let's get you an internship credit. You can email me, Aaron Torres, podcastquestions@gmail.com. Aaron Torres, podcastquestions@gmail.com. All right, Sam Pittman. So, you know, it kind of feels like it's run its course. The question would be who replaces him. The guy that it feels like everybody in Arkansas wants would be Rhett Lashlee. Rhett Lashlee, of course, played at Arkansas. Rhett Lashlee, of course, was a GA there. He spent a lot of time there. He's from the state of Arkansas. Quick side note, was also the UConn offensive coordinator once upon a time. Another conversation for another day. Well, I bring it up because Rhett Lashlee's been the name. At the same time, though, it feels like he's at SMU. They're coming off a college football playoff appearance. He would be totally happy staying at SMU forever. Well, apparently not, because Paul Finebaum certainly had some interesting things to say about this topic. Admittedly, this audio's a little bit old. It's about a week old from Rhett Lashlee when he was critical of the SEC a week ago at ACC Media Days. But here is what Paul Finebaum, the mouth of the South, had to say about Rhett Lashlee and the Arkansas Razorbacks job. Play it, producer Matt.
A guy who made his name in Northwest Arkansas, and he's saying, and he's making fun of the SEC for only having a handful of schools winning championships. Like what is it? What has his school done? What has SMU done in that same time period, Rhett, other than be the only school in the history of college football to cheat so badly that you had your program get the death penalty? I mean, that's how great SMU is. And so Rhett Lashlee's taking shots at Alabama having won during that stretch, 12, 13 national championships, LSU having winning numerous national championships. I mean, it's such an idiotic comment, especially for a guy who is begging and desperate and undermining the current staff at Arkansas so he can be the next coach there. That is very rich.
Rhett Lashlee begging and undermining the current Arkansas staff to get the job. Paul Finebaum always makes headlines. This one certainly made the rounds on my social media feeds, including, yes, Torres on the Hogs. Let's break it down. Let's discuss, do I buy it? I'll be transparent. So I do buy it. Now, listen, the undermining stuff, that part, I don't know. Listen, all I'll say is this, is that all these guys have agents. Every coach in America, there's probably 5 guys that are totally content, don't want another job. Everybody else is kind of just sniffing around, trying to see what's available, what could be available, what might be available, et cetera, et cetera. And so I bring it up because do I think that Rhett Lashlee behind the scenes is kind of trying to figure out, okay, could this job potentially open? What else could potentially open? Am I staying at SMU? Yes, that's what all of these guys do. I'm here to tell you. I'll tell you a quick side story, okay? I won't name the name. You might know who it is, but I know of a college basketball coach that was literally interviewing for other jobs during the NCAA tournament last year. Let me put it this way. He was interviewing for jobs he didn't even want, just wanted to leverage his other schools. So these guys poke around all the time. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's the reality. Is he actively undermining Sam Pittman? I don't know. But do I believe that he would be interested in this job? I'll be honest. I totally do. And let's discuss that part of it, because here's the bottom line is, one, there are the obvious ties, right? From the state of Arkansas. I think I knew this, but had forgotten it. He actually played for Gus Malzahn in high school. Those famous Shiloh Christian teams with, Mitch Mustaine a million years ago back in the day. I think Rhett Lashlee was a little bit before Mitch Mustaine. But listen, you go back to Rhett Lashlee's history. He's from the state of Arkansas. He was a GA at Arkansas. He's been around that program. And I think the other thing that stands out to me is the fact that I think that, listen, I know SMU is actually a very good job. And I think the argument would be, and people would say, you're not leaving a college football playoff team for a team that's struggling in the SEC. And I think my stance on this is pretty clear, is that basically the world of college sports, we are headed towards an SEC, ACC world. And the quicker or an SEC Big Ten world, excuse me. And if you are not there, listen, I'm all over the place, but the point I'm trying to make, as I'm tripping over my words here, is if you're not in the SEC, if you're not in the Big Ten, we don't know what college sports is going to look like in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. The only thing that anybody knows is that if you're in the SEC, if you're in the Big Ten, you are safe. And so to me, virtually all of these coaches are just trying to get to the SEC and get to the Big Ten. And it would not surprise me if he's interested. Okay, you could sit there and say SMU is one of the best jobs in the ACC, and I think it is. It's in Texas. They got a ton of money. We don't know what NIL looks like, but assuming NIL stays kind of a pay-for-play kind of thing, SMU is not going to be outbid by pretty much anybody. But the counter to that is, how safe is the future in the ACC? We saw the report last week that North Carolina wants out. Now, they probably won't even consider it until 2030 when the buyouts change and it's a lot cheaper. But if North Carolina leaves, you know what's going to happen next? Clemson's going to try to get out. Florida State's going to try to get out. Louisville's going to try to get out. Miami's going to try to get out. And then what kind of league are you in? And so SMU might be a great job now. Might be one of the 3 or 4 best jobs in the ACC, and it might be easier to win there and make the playoff than it is at Arkansas. I don't even think that's up for debate. They just made the playoff. But where is the ACC going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And if you have the chance to get to the SEC where you at least know no matter what happens, you're going to be safe and you're going to have a chance to compete at the top of the sport, I think you have to at least consider it, right? Because again, just think about what I just said. North Carolina, probably about 2030 will be the first realistic time that the ACC schools can get out of the ACC, okay? Well, 2030, if he takes that job in 2026, that'd be like year 3, year 4, that potentially, it's only 3-4 years down the road before the ACC could eventually fall apart. So you have that part of it, getting to the SEC. The other part, let's not forget this either. Whatever the future of college sports is, whatever the future of not only the college football playoff, but the NCAA tournament as well, this is a football segment, but whatever the future of the college football playoff is, guess what? The ACC and Big Ten, again, are going to have every advantage. So just think about the models that we're talking about. We're talking about a 4-4-2-2-1 model. That's what the Big Ten wants. 4 auto bids for the Big Ten and the SEC. By default, you have twice as good of a chance to get to a 16-team college football playoff if that model goes through in the SEC than you do in the Big Ten, than in the ACC. Beyond that, even if we go to the 5-11 model, you mean to tell me if you can't be the 3rd, the 4th, maybe even the 5th best team in the SEC that you can make a college football playoff? I think so. In the 5-11 model, you could be the 2nd best team in the ACC and you might not get in. I'll take it a step further. I don't even think SMU gets in last year if it wasn't for the fact that the committee basically came out and said the week before the conference championship games that, oh, by the way, nothing that happens in the conference championship games matters if you're already in the field. SMU was already in, so when they lose, the committee backed themselves into a corner where they could not put SMU in. And so you think about the future of the college football playoff. You think about the future of the NCAA tournament. I know this is a football segment. I'm not trying to make this a basketball segment. The SEC just got 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. Everything is weighted for the SEC. Everything is weighted for the Big Ten. By the way, this is why I'm not in favor of expansion for either of those conferences. All it's going to do is get more teams in from those leagues, and we already have enough. And so to me, yes, I think any coach would be crazy not to consider the SEC, not to consider the Big Ten if they have a chance to move. And I'll take it even a step further. Again, this is kind of a basketball, football crossover hybrid segment, but I think it's applicable. I can think of 2 coaches over the course of this last coaching carousel cycle in basketball that I think were happy at their places, but just said, and one of them even said publicly, you have to be in the SEC and the Big Ten. Sean Miller was at Xavier. Sean Miller, I think you could ask him. I think when he took the Xavier job about 4 years ago, he planned on retiring at Xavier. Then we got into this crazy pay-for-play world. You need $10 million to put together a national championship basketball roster. He said, I can't stay at Xavier. We'll never be able to compete with the SEC, with the Big Ten, with the top of the Big 12. He leaves. Nico Medved, if you don't know the name, was at Colorado State. I believe he actually turned down the Minnesota job 3 or 4 years ago. Well, he takes the Minnesota job. Now, he's from Minnesota, but he said publicly in interviews, he said, I had to be in the Big Ten. And so I just think this is where college sports is headed. I think if Rhett Lashlee has the chance, I think he is going to take the safety of the SEC over the ability to win right now at SMU. We'll see what happens. I've already seen a couple comments in the chat about Sam Pittman. Seems like most Arkansas fans are ready for what's next. And I think Rhett Lashlee at least has to listen. Again, do I think he's sabotaging Sam Pittman? I mean, they went 6-6 last year. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. Again, we don't root against people to lose jobs on this show. But man, oh man, that Arkansas football schedule is tough. At Ole Miss, at Texas, at LSU, Notre Dame at home, A&M, it's going to be a tough one. So we'll see what happens. But that is my take on what became a very interesting story about Rhett Lashlee.